Well, I just want to apologize for the sound. That was not the sound mix version. So, but the film was made a long time ago. And, there was really no budget for it. I just spent a lot of time out there and shot a lot of this. We were able to get it that far. So. But anyhow, questions?
I have a question about what you said before the movie started. Okay. You said you're filing lawsuits against the government. And how do you fund that? Because that must be a big task to...
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult.
I bet.
Yeah.
It's very impressive that you do so, I think.
Excuse me, what's the facts? Someone wants to buy
if someone wants to buy one, I guess 150 kroner. Yeah, that's the Wild Horse movie. Yeah. But yeah, that's been quite a journey in itself. I had an attorney come on board pro bono. She fought for a while, then she had to drop out. But then in the meantime, I found a couple other much bigger law firms with the resources to do it. So now they've come on board. But that battle started in 2011, so it'll go on. We'll see what happens. I'm at this point, it's consumed a tremendous amount of my time and resources, and so I'm kind of going back to filmmaking now. I got in a conversation with a co-filmmaker, and his advice is he's like, go and work on your films. So, but anyhow, we'll just see where it all lands. It's going back and forth. And of course, the United States government has limitless funds. And, yes?
What's happening with the fracking that you talked about last time you were over here?
They're going like crazy on it.
But even if it was in New York, it was like the big thing about New York and fracking there was where they were anticipating that if it went the right way, that might affect them positively.
Right. They're waiting for Governor Cuomo of New York. He's going to make a decision on what New York State's going to do. So that'll be kind of pivotal in the New York region. Their big fear in New York is, New York City actually still has an amazing fresh water supply. It comes out of the mountains there. And with fracking, they're polluting all the water tables now, wherever they're doing it. And so the big fear is they'll pollute New York City's water source. There's a film out now called Dear Governor Cuomo. You can Google that. And you can learn all about what they're doing in New York State to fight that. But out in the American West, where I live and where the wild horses are, they're going like crazy on it. In fact, so many of the politicians are bought off by the oil and gas companies. They're fast tracking to push legislation through to basically just open up all the public lands with very, very little environmental legislation to protect any of it. They're fast tracking very quickly. I flew 3 aerial missions this summer to film it from the air because they won't let me in to shoot this on the ground anymore. And that's part of my First Amendment lawsuit against them. So I filmed from the air this summer, and I have just unbelievable aerial footage of what's happening. And some of these are wild horse wilderness areas. 5 years ago, there was nothing there. The areas are inundated with hundreds of these gas fracking wells and pads, and they're going as fast as they can. So it's not looking good. Yes.
Jeg må ta det på norsk hvis noen kan oversette.
I'll do it, yeah, I'll translate.
Takk, James, for en inspirerende, kraftfull og fantastisk film. Det gir håp. Jeg kommer fra det samiske folk, så vi jobber også med seremonier.
Thank you, James, for an inspiring, hopeful and powerful message. And I come from the Sami people.
Vi har også her rundt Oslo så har vi lagt ut 4 kraftsteder i alle 4 himmelretninger, som vi går til hver gang det er solvær. Og nå, 21.12., så skal vi til Tryggvakshøgda. 21.12. klokka 6 skal vi dit og gjøre en seremoni.
Eirik and his group has provided 4 power centers in each direction of the sky around Oslo. And on the 21st of December, we're going to the one in, which was it?
Tryggvakshøgda.
Tryvanshøyda,
Yeah.
yes, at 6 o'clock.
Og jeg har fått overlevert på den sjamanfestivalen Nisogaisa en fredspipe som jeg skal ha med i seremonien. Den kommer fra indianere, den har gått via samiske folk på sivil, og den har jeg 1 år, og den skal være med på denne seremonien. Så alle som har lyst til å være med på det, er velkommen. Det kommer å være på Facebook som arrangement, så det var bare det jeg vil si. Men tusen takk, veldig inspirerende, og jeg tar det til mitt hjerte og skal bringe det videre. Takk.
Eric has received a peace pipe from an Indian nation, and he's holding it for 1 year, and he will bring it on this 21st of December to this ritual there.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. Really appreciate
You
that.
forgot to say his name.
Yes, Eirik. Eirik Myrhaug.
Okay,
And the event will be posted on Facebook.
on Facebook.
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, Pilamaye, Wopila, Matakio Asen. I honor you, my relation.
Do you use the social media at all?
Well, this project, I shelved it. I had to walk away from it. It wasn't getting support, and I moved on to the wild horses. And I think the wild horse issue is something, especially Americans can grasp more. They can relate more to the wild horses and what's happening to them than they can to Native Americans. And I gave this everything I had, and it was just the wrong time in America. Now that I've been over here in Europe, I think the film could definitely go in Europe, but in the U.S., it's not going to go.
No, but you need to rework it a little bit, I think.
Well, it does. It really. I mean,
Put it
I
out
would,
on social media.
yeah. I mean, I would love to. Actually, I'd love to go back, re-interview some of these people now, because this was shot 6, 8, 10 years ago. The Lakota Nation is actually worse off than when I shot this now. Things are worse there. The American economy is really bad, so it's hitting these areas that are already in poverty. They're much worse than they were when I shot this. So the struggle is more so than it was. But I would love to go back, bring the film current, recut it, and release it. And then make this into a series, have it lead into the wild horse, and then finish it with horse medicine, because horse medicine pulls us out of kind of all the doom and gloom. So,
Horsemanship is really hot, Horsemanship taken from the Indian knowledge. And there's a guy called Fabio Mansetti who runs it in Norway and also partly in Europe. That's one guy who has, he's actually Italian, but he has been living in Norway, now he's back in Italy, but he travels all the time. So that's one person you should look into.
so
He's a good
can I get
contact for
his
the
name
horses.
from you
Yeah,
after this? I'd like to get his name and contact.
So what you said is that you said there's one guy up north.
No, he lives, he used to stay at Nesodden where I live.
Okay.
And he's Italian, but he used to be a businessman, but he jumped off the career and he started with horsemanship
Okay.
in order to get, to develop people.
Okay.
So he's really into the thing, but it's taken from Indian knowledge.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's really sort of popular in Europe to do horsemanship rather than the Western way of communicating with horses. It's
Okay.
called horsemanship.
Great. So more people here.
Really hot.
I want to inform you that there is a lot of, nothing is in vain. And there's a lady from London, she's called Pauline Higgins. She is a lawyer, and she's been in Norway for a long time now, sitting in the armist chair. And she is working on an international law of ecocide, protecting the last ecological environment on the planet. she's been there to see the fracking field. And she's been here in Norway because we have started over here. It's state-owned, and we are one of the bad guys on this planet. Have a double tomorrow, like everywhere else. We are part of the problem too. And she hopes to make, if they could go around, change their goals to get profit, but not on destroying the earth, but to go towards sustainable energy sources. It would be a massive change for all the planet. So, and this law has been worked on in the UN for 11 years, and at the end it was stopped. So it's already there. It's just a matter of us people to actually ask the governments to go for it. So we are the one, sitting in the chairs. We are the one who actually ask who we want to have in powers and to support what we want. But it's there. Beside, you can go on the side of something, for instance, Diggings. She just left today or tomorrow or something.
Can you write that down for me,
Yeah,
please?
and because this is the person you really need to connect. She's been all over the world, ambassadors through states of, everywhere.
That'd be great.
I can say a few more things. She was here for 2 months, and she left actually today. She travels around and holds speeches. She's called the Earth Lawyer. So
Fantastic.
the lawyer for the Earth.
Great.
So, and it's about time we have some of those.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's wonderful.
I think there was someone over here.
Here you go.
Yes.
Yes, I'm Elin, and I was in Rapid City and Black Hills Reservation about 10 years ago, also the same trip with Morten, and so I recognized very many of the places that we saw in the film because we were traveling around, and it was visiting the American Indians, of course. I also have a question. It was very moving to see the film you made. And I also have a detailed question, which may not seem important, but I just have to imagine, was it wild horses the Indians use? And that is the one question. And what about how do they, we call it seletøy, I don't know.
Harness.
Harness. How do they harness the horses? I didn't see the normal way they do it here in Norway.
A lot of those horses they ride are domestic horses. Some of the Lakota people, they get these the wild horses from the BLM. If you get a wild horse, it's quite a project to tame it, gentle it. I know a few Lakota people who have wild horses, but the majority have domestic horses. They do ride mostly with bridles and saddles, but as you could see from the movie, some of the most amazing horsemanship I've ever seen are those kids. I mean, they ride perfectly, and I've seen horses buck and rear and do everything to buck these kids off. They stay right on. Their balance is almost perfect. In fact, I would love to do a film just on some of these kids' riders because the most amazing horsemanship.
There's no saddle also.
No saddle, bareback, completely bareback. They just stay on those horses. It's unbelievable. Yes.
Yeah, it was very inspiring film. You made it a few years ago, and it's nice to know that things are happening because this summer, Greta and I went to Stockholm to meet, to participate in the council of the 13 Indigenous grandmothers.
Yes.
And two of them were Lakota, by the way. And it was beautiful, fantastic women. And they travel all around the world with these messages, and they beautiful people.
Yes, I'm aware of them. I've followed them, yes.
So next year they'll have a meeting at their home, really, the Lakota place.
Oh, so they'll hold
Yes,
it.
there's a reservation there.
That's great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that.
Do you know if the Idle No More movement has an offspring from this?
I would,
Peace message.
Yeah, I think where this really came from is American Indian Movement, AIM. AIM really started all of this. And AIM really did some powerful things. And then over the years, AIM has it's been a little dispersed. And then, of course, after 9/11, the United States government claimed they were a domestic terrorist group. So things aren't what they were in AIM, but AIM really spawned a lot of these movements. So I don't know more similar to this, but I think a lot of what created AIM is in I don't know more. So I do really want to credit AIM for a lot of this. I spent time with Dennis Banks, Russell Means. A lot of those guys are just so committed to activism, environmental cause, native rights. Of course, Russell just passed on this last year, but I spent a lot of time with those guys. They really are not only spiritual, but very powerful in terms of their politics. So.
Well, just one final comment, really. It's interesting, though, to watch how there are lots of groups around, but like how they mix together, and like you have this, the Earth Lawyer, there are other groups and so on, but the corporation, that's what's needed.
Absolutely.
To get like the power onto it and onto like the project we've been talking about with the lawsuits you have. If there are individual little groups.
There's so much competition amongst the groups.
Which should be.
Yeah.
That's the bad thing.
It is.
Competition goes, makes it even more dispersed.
Yeah.
And it's not going to get much out of it in the long run.
Well, Mel Oldhill, the elder at the end, he said, unity. And it is. It's all about the unity at this point. There's a lot of powerful groups. We've got to figure out how to come together and, use our skills as one. No, it's not. I'm totally with you on that. I've experienced a lot of Indian politics in the making of this. And, and that's really what's keeping it all down, is people's personal interests. So that is something that has to be bridged and overcome. And that is the biggest obstacle. Like I say, we're our own worst enemies.
Is it part of their story?
Pardon?
Is it not also part of their story? The story going back with all these different groups who are fighting each other, isn't it also
Well, I would,
something you have written in the history?
one thing American Indians have been taught is divide and conquer, or conquer and divide, however you want to look at that. And that mindset is still very much alive today in Indian country. I could go on and on about that, but that's still very much alive.
I think there is a common vision for all of us, whatever where we are. Unity and peace vision, because even though it's in a different way, and maybe, I don't know if life lives through us or if we live through our lives. I don't know. I think there is a current and we are going to like this anywhere, in anywhere. It's the way how we do it. And slowly or together, it's going. So I've done the other and it doesn't feel all moment. So I think you are a wonderful life being homesick.
Luminous.
Lighthouse. You're a lighthouse, putting a light on what we all know, to participate in this and do something about it. But sitting here doing nothing is doing nothing. And I think holding the vision, making the vision alive, this is, I think, what will be in the future. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Yeah, I haven't looked at this in years, so you've re-inspired me. I think about it a lot. I want to really finish this film at some point. Thanks for your inspiration.
And you're also selling
The Wild Horses and Renegades is for sale on the back there. It's very hard-hitting, beautiful, tragic film, but it's very current in what's happening. And there's some great Native American interviews in there. Pulitzer Prize winning author Scott Momaday is in it. Tokala, the young man you saw here, he's in it.
Saginaw Grant.
Pardon?
Saginaw Grant.
Saginaw Grant is, he's in horse medicine.
How is the crazy horse monument getting along?
I don't know. I haven't been there in a while, but again, that is a topic of controversy as well. Some Lakota people are for it and some are against it. So, the shot I have of it in the movie, it was a bit debated. So,
And you live in Colorado?
Yes, I live in Colorado.
Do you know who designed that monument?
Oh, I've heard the story. I can't recall it right now.
I can't believe he's native anyways.
He's Polish.
But that's
Right.
a craftsman, right? Yeah, but it's not the one who sort of decided how it should look because it's,
I think it was him.
oh, it is.
Yeah.
But you also ride a wild horse, right?
I do. I have a wild horse. Yeah,
A
he's,
domesticated wild horse.
he's now domesticated. But like when I put him out on big range and let him roam for a couple, like now I'm gone, I'll get back and he'll be like, who the hell are you? Yeah, it's going to take me a couple weeks. I've got to bribe him with treats and everything.
He's not alone. Horses don't like to be alone.
No, he's with other horses.
No, we're also horse family, so we know everything about domesticated horses, I should say.
Yeah, wild horses are really smart because they live in the wild and they have to survive as a family group. And so they really look out for each other. There's a hierarchy in the family. You have the dominant mare and the dominant stallion, and everyone else is in the pecking order. And it's really amazing to watch them function. And they're so incredibly resilient. And then when you take one and domesticate it, it's like my horse, if he sees a deer or a bear or something, he doesn't freak out because he's lived in the wild with these other animals. And he, like on mountain trails too, he knows exactly where to go. Domesticated horses, it takes them a while to figure that out.
You shoot them? You shoot?
And you do not shoe them. It's survival of the fittest. Horses with weak hooves, weak cannon bones, they die out in the wild. So your domestic or your wild horses, the amazing hooves and cannon bones. And it's just a natural barefoot trim. I'll never have to shoe them.
But you do trim them?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna head to the cafe pretty soon. So whoever wants to join us can do so. And thank you very much for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much. Oh, you got a question? Why did I name it Spirit Riders? Because I thought the Indians had a lot of spirit.